And hello once again, and today I'm going to be talking about its original name for this, the Compact Cassette, invented by Philips back in the 60s, I presume. It was the 60s, but it wasn't, didn't start out life as an audio cassette. It wasn't good enough at the time, but it started out life as a dictation, for dictation from the devices. It didn't start becoming an audio cassette until the 1970s. If you want to watch a video dedicated to the cassette tape, then I would recommend you watching Techmoan's video about it. He does a brilliant video about talking about the audio cassette, but this is my memories of the audio cassette. I'm not going to talk about it in general because, you know, there's different types of audio cassette. As I said, if you want an in-depth video about audio cassettes, then watch Techmoan's video. Brilliant channel. But my memories during the 80s of the Compact Cassette, because I didn't really start listening to audio music on them until like the late 80s, the early 90s. You know, music wasn't a very big thing for me during my growing up stages. I don't know, I just couldn't really get into music until like the late 80s, early 90s, when I really did get into music. And you know, but to me it was about loading up computer games, because all computer games, or majority of computer games for me, that is, was on audio cassette. Well, compact cassette, because it was audio, but the audio was the loading code that the computer received to load the game. So these were the memories, like on my Amstrad CPC 464 was putting the cassette in the drive and push play in any key. Brilliant. So what we have here is a game called Harrier Attack. It took about 4 minutes to load. I mean, all games were different, you know, it took different time to load depending what it is, and sometimes you had to have you got multi-load and things like that. So yeah, so that was the medium. I didn't have no floppy disks back in the day, but I'm not talking about floppy disks. This is just dedicated to the audio or the compact cassette. And you know, it wasn't just about that. It was, you could have a lot more fun with it. Like, you know, people will probably take for granted that because you can do it on your computer these days. But if you had a tape recorder, I think we all must have had a tape recorder back in the day, in the 80s. You know, your very first tape recorder that you can record your voice, because it either had an external microphone, a little crappy thing, or the machine itself had a built-in speaker or built-in microphone, and then like a little, like all-in-one things. It just sat on the desk. It's like a long thing. You just had a little handle at the front, carry it around with you, run on these big, I think it's the big C-cell batteries, or you could plug a bit of an adapter, plug it into the mains, and you could use one of these cassettes. You could record your voice, or you could record off the radio or something like that, because I didn't have a proper MIDI system, but you know, or record the top 10 like really badly from the radio. But or you could put it into your radio, or you know, your deck, if you had a MIDI system, record the top 10 on your audio cassette. These are the days before MP3 and things like that. So this was the only way you could record with. You know, you had a tape. You can buy them cheap, and you know, these are the ferric tapes, which were the cheapest of the range. As I said, I'm not going to go into different types of, because I think it was 4 different types of tapes. You know, the metal tapes were the most expensive, and you've got the Dolby noise reduction and all that. You know, as I said, I'll leave a link to Techmoan's video. He'll explain it so much better. He's brilliant. But you know, but these have always been good memories for me, the audio cassette, and I still think, to me personally, it's one of my favourites of media, you know, to record, and because it can record, You know, CDs were about, they just come out in the 1980s, but they were just so expensive. Records you can, you know, just play. So unless you had a reel-to-reel, one of the big reel-to-reel things, which my dad did have, he did have a reel-to-reel, but that was expensive and very fiddly, and so these were the best things really to have. They were cheap, and you know, record on both sides. If any younger generation people out there probably think, what the fuck is that? You know, we got MP3s now, so why do we have to listen to you ramble on about old technology? To me, this was great. It was great times. I had a lot of great times and memories with the compact cassette. You know, I think it's still a great media. Obviously, I use MP3s now, you know, to listen to audio MP3s, but I've still got a twin tape deck down there, you know. And sometimes I still use audio cassettes, and I've still got a Commodore 64 and an Amstrad CPC 464. So sometimes I'm still using audio cassette if I want to record a loading code to my tape deck. Tapes still come in handy, because my Amstrad CPC 464 and Commodore 64, I've only got the tape drives. I don't have a disk drive, and you know, I don't have disk access, so the only way to load games or programs into my old 8-bit computers is via tape. I know I can buy all this other hardware you can get nowadays, but I don't know, because it's something I'm used to. So this will be more of a nostalgia thing, you know, popping the tape in and loading it up, playing if I want to play it on old hardware. I've got emulations for this now, so I don't even need to bother, or I don't even have to bother with my 8-bits. But sometimes it's just nice to have that old retro feel to put the cassette in, because that's how I was used to loading up games and my Commodore 64. You know, until, you know, I went to the 16-bit era with my Amiga, and you know, didn't require these. They required 3.5 inch disc. Is it three? Yeah, it was 3.5 inch discs. Yeah. So you know, I think this was a superb invention to me. But as I said, I was going about to say, what does a biro, to the younger generations who's watching this, what does this and this have in common? Well, there's a flaw with these sometimes. Sometimes the machine sometimes chewed up your tape. I bet I can't even get the bloody thing out now, so I can demonstrate this purpose. I don't want to. These are brand new tapes actually. I bought these not so long ago. Of course, you know it's going to have a. I'll try. Watch this. Right, let's pull the tape out if I can. No, of course I can't. There we go. Sometimes this will happen. It will go through the mechanism and this will happen. So what you do, if that ever happened, get your pen and word it back in. There you go. Yeah, this is why it's special. This is why it's special to me. I like the audio cassette or the compact cassette. I think these will be around for a little while. I think a lot of people have a lot of attachments to cassettes. Me, I was never a vinyl person for audio, and compact discs came in late into my life, like the mid-90s, because they were so expensive. But back in the day, you know, so basically all my music back in the day, like from the early 90s, was on audio cassette, and you know, that's the only way I listened to music really. I had an old MIDI system back in the day. It had a record player, didn't have a CD player at the time, so I had to buy a separate one later on, but I really had an old 80s music system at the time. And yeah, and the audio cassette was my only way of listening to music. And also had a Walkman, a cheaper Walkmans, you know, so I can listen to my personal stereo. Nowadays we can just listen to it with our phones, or MP3 players. I had an iPod, was it an iPod I had, listening to all my music, but I sold it now. But yeah, but back then, back in the day, it was a Walkman or a Walkman equivalent. I was happy with it, but unfortunately, I don't know, you know, with a 90-minute cassette, you know, sometimes I can only take about three tapes around with me, because that's all I can fit in my pocket, in my coat pocket. So a maximum of 3 tapes and my Walkman in the other pocket. But you know, I didn't mind, you know, because of getting the bus back to work, back, you know, it didn't bother me that much. That's what we was used to. The Discmans were pretty crap. They always skipped, but these never skipped. You know, you can bash them about a bit, you know, they'll still play. The only problem is which was a pretty rare thing when the tape got caught in the mechanism. But I honestly do miss the audio cassette. You know, I do miss it. Could I go back to it? Probably not, because we're used to all this new technology. And me, MP3, you know, I ain't gonna go back, because MP3 is just so convenient. Just push file. That's it. I'm listening to my music. Don't have to swap discs. Don't have to swap tapes. You know, I don't even listen to compact discs anymore. But yeah, it always brings back memories. You know, the audio cassette, absolutely a great technology for its day. You know, something I will miss, but I've still got it, so I can have a little bit of a nostalgia. If I wanted to listen to a bit of music on tape, I can just record it onto tape if I wanted to. So I've still got that ability to record onto tape if I want to, but via using the computer, because the computer is linked into my stereo system, so I can record what I want really, as well as the old loading code if I want to. So I'm pretty sorted there. So yeah, so what was your memories of the audio cassette? Do you like the audio cassette? Did you like the cassette, you know, to mess about with, like recording your voices and messing about with your mates like we did back in the day, having your own little portable cassette player, little cassette recorder with a little mic or built-in microphone? Oh, good times. I miss it. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, and goodbye.